سينا آخرتان برنامج سينا ونقرب بازانا مرحلة بوين دقبانا آخرتان برنامج سينا ونازل إنجليزينا بيقرب زالو برنامج سينا انتو تخيتاي برنامج سينا وتقرب لنزات سيترا أحمد انتي دكتور عبدالرحمن غراد بيت أبزا كتب انتا ي برنامج سينا ونتخيتات هل من يرقب غانا أخذوهم كالحتخو IHMS بحيخ.
There is a Harari saying that comes handy at this time in our history that goes, Natuzo zalakule dowam alagenulo. In order to find effective and sustainable solutions for the currently unfolding conundrum of racially motivated atrocities, we need to diagnose the problem based on the essential components of its cause. Then, we need to figure out a remedy commensurate with the nature of the cause. Our communal security issues could be classified as external and internal. External factors of our communal issues, in essence, the communal security issues we are facing could be defined as a racially motivated aggression that target our existential right to exercise our right to self-government, live in peace in our own historically acclaimed region, have safety in dwelling in our own housing property, pursue our livelihood in tending our agricultural land, or the very few that have been remained from its unfair confiscation of the communistic era, impeding our ability to self-government. The genesis of this aggression goes back all the way to the establishment of the Harari regional government as composed of coalition parties that comprise the Harari and Oromo as ethnic groups of native origin. Among any party who are mandated to govern in the coalition, there is always room for a certain degree of confrontation spurred by conflict of interest, mixed with the drive to competition, and the need to cooperation. Developments in Harari regional government have shown this relationship to have been off balance for a prolonged period of time, until it reached recently a tipping point in favor of the former, namely confrontation. This is vividly demonstrated by the confrontational way our coalition partners conduct themselves in trying to challenge our constitutional authority in leading the administration of the Harari regional government. Some of the leaders are seen to be often given bellicose rhetorical speech in gatherings with impressionable youth, trying to drive a wedge between the otherwise peacefully coexisting neighborly communities, in what tantamount to hate-mongering that is known to be a precursor of violence. Disrupting life and peace in our own historically acclaimed region. As could be anticipated, there followed a number of incidents where demonstrations were conducted as a show of force, some of which were actually stopped by the coalition leaders before they reached the city of Harar. In one of those incidents, the demonstrators were shouting and brandishing disparaging slogans like "Harar is ours," "Go back to where you came from," to Turkey, etc., directed particularly to Hararis. Unless they meant to disown the city from its native residents, there's no such need for such slogans, as the Harari notion of citizenship belonged to all its naturalized, Gaylamad residents as much as the ones who are native to the metropolitan city, Gayoso. Occupying houses, evicting its Harari owners, and looting properties. Hordes of hooligans carrying sickles and other weapons invaded particular compounds, terrorizing its dwellers into eviction and occupying it after looting all valuable property, thereby making the owners homeless. The Harari regional government is paralyzed because of the omniscient complacency and tact approval of the coalition partner, who were actually inciting such political violence to take place. These atrocities are based on widely reported events supported with documents of audio-visual material. Denying pursuit our livelihood and tending our agricultural land. There are comparable events based on documentary reports whereby Hararis were ambushed by some criminals who disparagingly shouted at them not to ever visit their agricultural field. Many of these Hararis were victims of physical violence that involved sharp weapons, including sickles, which were painted in crimson red to scare Hararis into abandoning their field. Notably, there are very few that remained of the magnificently irrigated orchid gardens in the hands of Harari following the unfair confiscation that took place under the communistic era. Our dismissal performance in good governance. The establishment of the Harari state in the way it did was the result of vibrant historical heritage. The region represented as a cradle for Ethiopian civilization, coupled with compelling evidence of historical wrongs the region native dwellers were subjugated to throughout the years. It is a way of righting those wrongs that the Affirmative Action Clause was invoked and legislated right from the formative stages of the democratic federal government of Ethiopia. That this happened in spite of our minority status raises a bar of expectations for us in the performance scale of good governance. Nothing describes the metropolitan nature of Harar as a fact that Hararis take pride in the Ahmaras of the region calling themselves Yi Harar Lij, which is a literal meaning of gay Waldi in Harar. On a personal note, I tend to firmly believe that it may have been a grave mistake not to include them in the coalition as a mean of check and balance. What is next? Programs? If you think that is unlikely, just think the massacre that happened to the Somalis. The deafening silence of the federal government for long might contribute in hardwiring the trend and risk it getting a trajectory that can easily spiral beyond control, creating a situation similar to that of countries married in tribal conflicts, which Ethiopia was here to escape by the grace of Allah. Letting such criminal rampage a historical town like Harar with impunity sends a very ominous message to the like-minded gangs to try their hands elsewhere, thereby helping spread a civil war-like insecurity in other parts of the country. Our dismissal performance in good governance ate away the prestige and reputation our capital forefathers built, to the extent we were regarded so highly that our minority never mattered. We were highly regarded as a bearer of Ethiopian Islamic institutions that earned us particular reputation by Ethiopian Muslim communities as builders of mosques and schools. All that went in smoke as our government demonstrated the worst example of incompetence and tardiness, not to speak of rampant corruption, especially true in the face of information drought that created such a vacuum for rumor mills to churn out news of maladministration that only gained credence by silence or ineffectiveness of the official media. A look at the government's website in comparison to that of our other regions, showing the abject absence of government-sponsored news in the web, only reinforces the rumor-based negative information. It is not as if the government is short of budget or doesn't value enough the impact of media as to put it in the forefront of budget allocations. Deteriorating communal institutions. The absence of an empowered constituent has proved to be a missing link of paramount consequence. We lack social institutions that are instrumental for deploying various sectors of society in activities of social growth. The Afochas, with their pluralistic structure that allows for them working as a team in a system of Laki Mugad, as well as Mugad or youth leagues, which represented the basic components of Harari traditional organization that stand for the future of sustainability of the community, should have been strengthened. It is our own peril that we leave such marvelous institutions as Afocha to decay by way of neglect until it became irrelevant. Whatever happened to our wisdom that states, adapt to and get along with contemporary social environments? Zaman le tamkaku fankazobe letu. That is a question of epoch, which we may deal on separate research. The government needs to get over its obvious perception of Afocha as a redundant institution vying for or competing with its institutional roles, and start instead empowering it by revitalizing its organization. As a non-governmental organization with representative office, Afocha, together with Mugad, can in fact have or easily modified to function as civil society or parliamentary organs of government that can have handle on both political functions and party pundits. Solutions for reversing our fortune in communal security. What can we do as expatriate Hararis now or soon? Those eventful developments of recent past, like the disintegration of the only political party, and more importantly, the powerlessness of our community to control those in power, opened our eyes that our security is not restricted to aggression-related safety issues of external nature, but also includes Harari-centric issues that are rooted in internal incompetence, bickering, corruption, and the like, of which we should have all take some level of responsibility. What should we expect when we hand over an absolute power to our government representatives by neglecting our communal power base, which could have worked as a check and balance to correct their behavior, knowing an absolute power corrupts absolutely? We should have come to their rescue by organizing our social political system in a much more visionary manner. That is the connotation of the great hadith. Come to the rescue of your brother, just or unjust. How unjust? By holding his hand. You got the message. Those who try to work as members of government or part have truly let us down. As much as they deserve our condemnation, we also need to realize our own part in the whole shorting, thereby trying not to only discipline, but also rehabilitate them as a way of encouraging our capable human resource to come to the plate of leadership. In conclusion, the best that we can and should do in the short term is we need to send a strong message of hope to our people that our resolution to those who chose to be our nemesis by demonstrating our unity, by putting aside all of our differences through establishment of shared association that is composed of both Afochas and Mugad, in which the young Hararis need to play a leading part. That gives legitimacy, mandate, and power to lead the community in its effort to thoroughly study the situation, pass learned resolutions, design policies, connect with institutions at homeland, local, and international.
ودتخو قدرخو حاجة سنا هوجي لي زينارينات أبتي يمسلينارا برنامج سنا بي زي مدخونت أورسي كزينيانتا هوجي أحد بانا مزيقلنا ميديا زينا جيش كدير التابينا غنيكوت كم زينا تاجوت فيز بيت خشنا حل يليم كم زوم يفرق چالا بي التاجوت سو يشكوت أور كلا حسنيونا كربانا أزوكسوم برنامج سنا أخاخت فوني بوردكوت فيسبوك بيزيناو أزوكسوم يوتيوب چانل زيناو لايك و سبسكرايب تاشلونا كوت قدر بحنا تحبرانا هوجي لزينارينا برنامج يو مسلينارا إلاوة يديج برنامج بنكرات كيسي كم قوم ذا القبوط تابع أمان كلنا خير مرحبا
بيكوت زلخاتو بيكوت خوبين سينا زلخاتو سينا تخوبين دينا زلخاتو